Americana non Grata coming in live from Thailand, Bangkok, headed to Malaysia tomorrow. Today we're talking about footwear. So I have a bad habit. I tend to find a pair of shoes I really like and I'll buy a couple pairs of them and run them forever. I found the Jack Wolfskin Spirit Low Knit, which I really liked. It's a barefoot style shoe. I found it before I went on my trip to Russia. I wore the shoe for over a year. I bought myself a second pair that I left home in Arizona when I was still just doing tripping from time to time and not full-time one bagging. And the thing about the Jack Wolfskin Spirit Low barefoot style shoe, it's a great shoe. It's probably the most durable shoe I've ever had. It held up over a year. Most Adidas Pure Boost, Ultra Boost, NMDs, they don't really go that far. They go maybe 1,000 miles walking, which sounds like a lot, but it's not. You can fucking roll that up fast. My Jack Wolfskins, I think I got about 5,000 miles out of. They were really good. I had a secondary pair just sitting on the shelf ready. So before I came on this trip, I slapped on a brand new pair of those Jack Wolfskin Spirit Low Knits. And unfortunately, I got rid of them in Thailand because they just weren't breaking in the same way the first pair did. Or maybe they were. What I've found over the years is if I keep wearing the same type of shoe, even if I get a brand new pair, if I wear the same model over and over, my feet don't like it. My feet get sore from always wearing in the same spots. So right now I'm wearing a pair of Hoka Clifton 9s, which are an incredible shoe, a lot of padding. So what this episode today is about is footwear. It's your number one thing for one bagging. If you're thinking about just taking one backpack and going around the world, your bag is very important. I'll do another video about the bags, but really the most important thing is your footwear. If your feet aren't comfortable, you're not going to make it anywhere. You can't be walking 10, 20, 30 miles a day if you're not in comfortable shoes. A lot of different things to consider. One thing I always tell people when you're trying to pick out a car, look at the most common car on the road and then cross-reference that with the oldest car on the road. And cars like the Corolla, the Camry, the Honda Civic, the Honda Accord, you see a lot of them and you see a lot of older ones. There's a similar rule when it comes to footwear. Look around at what other travelers are wearing and then also look at what travelers that are older than you are wearing. Look at the oldest people you see on vacation and what do they got on their feet. You're going to see a lot of the same things. You're going to see Boosts, Pure Boost, Ultra Boosts, NMDs, different variations of the Adidas Boost. You're going to see Hokas. Going to be a lot of Hokas, a lot of Keens. There's certain brands you're going to see a lot. That ON brand, I've never tried those shoes, but they look like they're pretty nice. What I would say is look around at other travelers, look at what other people are wearing on their feet, and give those a try. Shoes are a very uniquely personal item. What's a beautiful and amazing shoe for one person may not be comfortable at all for another. So that's something to keep in mind. I could run through a whole list of different shoes, different models, different things that I would recommend. But the fact of the matter is what works for you might not work for me, and what works for me might not work for you. I also found those the Clarks. I don't remember the model. There's Clarks that have like a split sole so that they flex. Those are really nice. I picked some of those up on a trip a couple years ago. I really enjoyed those. The thing that I will tell you, when you walk into a shoe store, don't settle for a pair of shoes until you step into them and you're like, oh my God, that's relief. As soon as you put them on, if you put on a pair of shoes and you're like, oh wow, all my foot pain went away, that's probably a pretty good shoe for you. So that's something to keep in mind when it comes to one bag travel. Your feet are important. You're going to be on your feet a lot, whether you're in a bus, in an airport, no matter where you're at, you're going to be on your feet. I like the Hokas a lot right now. Hokas are a chunky sole. They got a lot of padding. It has a little bit of a learning curve for me. I've spent the last 2 years wearing a barefoot style shoe with like a 1/4 inch thick sole. So going to a Hoka, which has a chunky couple inch sole, a little bit of a learning curve. I need to pick my feet up more. I catch the bottom of my feet on little steps and stuff more often, but I'm getting on to the Hokas. Hoka Clifton 9s are some of the most comfortable shoes I've ever worn. Of course, I always recommend Adidas Ultra Boost 20s. Look out for shoes that have like a hard plastic edging on any of the side, like the NMD R2s. Or R1 V2s, the newer Ultra Boost, have this weird chunky piece of plastic, and they're comfortable for a little bit, but that plastic starts to cut in. Also, New Balance. I've had a few different models of New Balance that I liked, but a lot of New Balance have seams up around the pinky toe, and fact of the matter is that seam, if it doesn't break in just the way that it needs to, it's always going to rub on your toe. It's going to give you blisters. So footwear. Consider footwear. throw aesthetics out the door. Don't be trying to wear some shoe because it's cool. You're not going to be able to wear your Air Jordans, your Nike Dunks, blah, 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 while you're out here one bag traveling. That's not what it's about. You got to be able to walk. I personally, I'm averaging, 15 to 25 miles a day on my walking. I can't be doing that in fucking Dunks. So look at some Keens. A lot of older people I see in Keens, they must be comfortable. I've never worn them. The Hokas, I will co-sign. They're gangster. Any kind of Boost can be good. The durability, it depends on the Boost. I really like Boosts, but I tend to replace the Boost every 3 months when I'm out here walking. Those Jack Wolfskins were great. I absolutely recommend a Jack Wolfskin shoe. When you're testing a shoe, put it on and really fucking grind into it and look at it and look at how much the sole crunches. I had some North Face boot shoe hiking shoes and they looked awesome. They felt great when I first put them on, but they ended up crushing down on the side in a weird spot. I had to toss those when I was in Greece at one point. So I don't recommend, it all depends. It's all subjective, but just make sure you really test the shoe. Test it for durability. Test it, if you can, test it with your bag on and your bag off. I've had pairs of shoes that felt great in the shoe store, and then the next time I put on my bag and started walking, I was like, man, these shoes don't work with that extra added weight of the bag. So also, your balance gets thrown off a little bit when you have a bag on. You put more weight on the back versus the front, and so really try out a lot of different pairs of shoes and switch them up often. Every time you get a new pair of shoes, get a different model, get a different brand. I've found that if I get the same thing over and over, it actually makes my feet hurt more over time. So, footwear, super important. I would say it's your number one most important thing while traveling as far as gear comes.